NFL teams are the most overhyped? And which teams are you sleeping on entering 2024? What's going on, football fans? It's Mitch, once again back with another NFL video. And in this video, the 5 most overrated and underrated NFL teams entering the 2024 NFL season. If that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe to OwnersBox Fantasy for more NFL content just like this. Of course, let me know your opinion in the comment section below. Which teams are the most overrated and which teams are the most underrated entering 2024? Let's begin with the most overrated teams in the NFL, and there is no better team to begin an overrated list with than America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are once again viewed as an elite team, not only in the NFC, but the NFL. 7th, according to the betting market. I just don't see it. I'm not even sure the Cowboys are going to get to double-digit wins again in 2024. I think they're taking a step back, and you can quote me on that. The Cowboys have lost pieces, significant pieces, to protect Dak Prescott. The offensive line is in shambles. I haven't seen this weak of a Cowboys offensive line entering a season since, I don't know, the Tony Romo era, like 2013, 2012. It's been a long time since the Cowboys have had this suspect of protection for their quarterback. Dak Prescott has never dealt with less than, 2 Pro Bowlers on his offensive line. Now he loses a gold jacket member, Tyron Smith. The future Hall of Famer is gone. He's protecting Aaron Rodgers now. He's not going to be there for you, Dak. So you're going to have to replace him with who? Tyler Guyton, a rookie? Really? A rookie. I just don't know. Guyton is very raw, and I personally was not a fan of him coming into the draft. You also have, at the right tackle position, Terrence Steele, coming off his worst NFL campaign in 2023. He was horrendous at times last year. He was the biggest issue, but now you can't provide that slide and protection to him because you have Tyler Guyton on the left. You don't have Tyron Smith, so you can't have solo one-on-ones constantly on the left and have double teams to the right because you got a rookie on the left. So that changes your protection scheme in the way that you can slide your protection. Yes, I like the guards, but the center position is also an issue. You lost Tyler Biadasz, who is a very capable starting center. Now you rather have a rookie or an unproven player in Hoffman starting at that position. To me, the Cowboys are in trouble when it comes to protection for Dak Prescott. They're also in trouble when it comes to the balance of the offense. Last year, it was already a problem, but now you lose Tony Pollard and you bring in an old man Zeke to replace him. You have an offensive line that, like I said, is suspect, which also affects the running game. It affects the ability to stay balanced in a game. So this team that is built on its explosive offense, Dak to CeeDee Lamb, that's just not going to be the same. I can't see the production remaining the same in Dallas on offense. Defensively, they lost their defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. They subbed him out for a well-known name in Zimmer, but it will be a different scheme, and I wonder how that will affect these individual talents. The Cowboys also did not end the season very well. You might remember they lost 3 of the last 5 games in 2023, including they got shellacked by the Green Bay Packers in their building at home where Mike McCarthy looked inept. He looked lost. And I'm shocked that Mike McCarthy was not fired for somebody like Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick. That is shocking. Jerry Jones missed an opportunity, and now he's entering 2024 with a coach that I personally don't think the team, the roster, really truly believes can take them to the promised land. This defense, as well, that Zimmer is going to have to coach, I don't really see how it improved. Yes, they get Trayvon Diggs back, but they haven't re-signed and won't re-sign Stephon Gilmore. They haven't re-signed Jaron Kearse. They're still weak at linebacker. They've lost depth, significant pieces on the defensive line like Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams to injury, as well as Dante Fowler, as well as Jonathan Hankins. They lost key depth players. So if they have injuries, they're going to be in trouble. So the Dallas Cowboys, I think, are significantly overrated. If you think that they're going to win their division, if you think that they're a lock to make the playoffs, you are overrating the Dallas Cowboys. The second overrated team, and this is in no order, by the way, this is just a list of 5, is the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, the Baltimore Ravens, a team that everybody views as a Super Bowl contender in 2024, I believe is in real trouble to not only take a step back, but maybe even considering the division and the conference, miss the playoffs. I really believe that if Lamar, the way that he's been inconsistent with he's healthy one year, he's injured the next. I'm not counting on injury for the MVP here, but all I'm saying is if the Ravens miss Lamar for 4 games, they might miss the playoffs again, right? And here's the thing, right? The Baltimore Ravens were an amazing team in the regular season last year. They were the best team in the regular season last year. They even blew out the 49ers in San Francisco. Like, you have to give them that love and appreciation. They had the MVP for a reason. They had an excellent defense. But when you look at all the pieces they've lost, it is obvious that the Ravens are being overrated entering this season. They lost key personnel. 3 starting offensive linemen. They lost Kevin Zeitler, a borderline Pro Bowl caliber player and a very good player for a long time across the NFL with the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Giants. They lost Morgan Moses, the 12th best tackle in football last year, according to Pro Football Focus. He's now with the Jets, along with Tyron Smith. And they also lost a starting guard who's also with the Jets, John Simpson. The Jets picked up a lot of players here, but Simpson is a very good run blocker especially. He's probably the weakest of the losses here, but considering you lose 3 offensive linemen for a team that loves to run the football as much as the Ravens do, love to be a physical football team, and they love to be able to provide that extra time for Lamar to be able to create and make things happen on long plays, right? He really loves to buy time, and without an elite offensive line, it's going to speed up his entire process. I understand Mark Andrews is now healthy. I understand Derrick Henry is now on the team. There are positives for the Ravens offense, but overall, the offensive line last year was one of the best units in the league, and now that they've lost 3 key starters and are having to replace them with guys we've never heard of or rookies, it's a big drop-off in overall talent and even cohesion. Then you look at the defensive side of the football, and they lost key contributors like Geno Stone, I believe the leading interceptor on their team last year, Jadeveon Clowney, probably their best edge rusher on the team last year, and one of the best linebackers in the NFL, period, Patrick Queen. So they lost those 3 key contributors to their defense that was one of the best in the NFL. And not only did they lose personnel, but they also lost coaches. Not only did they lose Mike McDonald, who everyone has discussed, he is the best defensive coach in football, and I believe is the reason the Ravens defense has been so good the last couple of years, because of him. It's not necessarily because of the talent. It's because of how that coach specifically utilizes that talent. And not only did you lose Mike McDonald and his brain and his scheme, but you lost his disciples. You lost Anthony Weaver to the Miami Dolphins to become their defensive coordinator, and you lost Denard Wilson to the Tennessee Titans, a guy that worked in the front of the defense and the back of the defense. So there's going to be no tie to the past with the Ravens defense. Very, very few guys are still there that were in important and crucial roles for game planning for the 2023 Ravens defense. So a lot changes with the Ravens. Yes, they still have a phenomenal quarterback. Yes, they have a very proven coach. Yes, they still have talent, but the Ravens will not be the number 1 seed in the AFC. They will not be a team that's a lock for the playoffs. They might not even win their division. So to me, the Ravens are overrated. The next overrated team in the NFL is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, they are looked at as the 10th best team in the NFL according to the betting market entering 2024. And I personally have never bought into this Miami Dolphin team, so I have always viewed them in the lens of overrated. But the reason they're overrated is they rarely beat good teams. Last year, they beat one playoff team. One. They won 11 games, I think. Right? They made the playoffs last season. And they beat one good team. One playoff team. The Dallas Cowboys at home. That's it. And like I said, the Cowboys struggled at the end of the season, right? They lost 3 of their last 5. So the Cowboys were not a great team at the end of the season. That's why they're overrated. The Dolphins, they were not a great team at the end of the season either. And the only game they won against a good team was the Dallas Cowboys, right? They lost 4 of their final 6 last season. And they lost 6 of their final 7 in 2022. So this is a team that starts off hot. They beat up on bad teams. They destroy terrible teams. And they especially get a schematical edge early in the year. And then once the weather gets a little bit colder, and once they play the better teams in November, December, and January, they fall short. And a lot of that has to do with their quarterback, who they've recently paid, who I think is overrated in Tua. I think he is somebody that is heavily aided by the weaponry around him and the system around him. And Mike McDaniel, I think, is a good coach, but I think he has failed to realize how to scheme against the best teams, the best coaches, and put together a cohesive team. He's great on offense, but he seems to miss the complementary football aspect of coaching, in my opinion. I view the offensive line as taking a huge hit this offseason. Another common theme here in this video is offensive lines. Connor Williams he might never play football again. He's out. And then you have, of course, losing Robert Hunt to a $100 million contract to the Carolina Panthers. They thought he was so good he was worth $100 million. So they lost 2 of their 3 best offensive linemen, and their other best offensive lineman rarely plays in Eric Armstead. He's probably overrated at this point, but they do not have a good offensive line, which, of course, like we said with the Cowboys, impacts their explosive running game with Mostert and A-Shane that we saw last year. It impacts the protection for Tua, which is so essential because the guy doesn't move very well. Anytime he's off his spot, he doesn't throw a good football. And they've become a retirement home for veteran players who are past their prime. Odell Beckham Jr., Jordan Poyer, Calais Campbell. Like, all these players that Marcus May are joining the team in their older age because it's in Miami and it seems fun and a good environment to be in. I don't like the vibe for this team at all. I don't like it at all. And I feel like with this schedule at the end of the season, with this division that they are in, this is not going to be a team that replicates last year, and I think they're going to fall short of expectations in 2024. The 4th overrated team entering 2024 is the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers will not be bolting up in 2024. I'll tell you that. Everybody thinks just because they got a coach now with a little bit of track record in Jim Harbaugh, that's going to make this team all of a sudden bolt up. No. This team does not have the talent it used to have. People, wake up. Open your eyes. They lost Keenan Allen. They lost Mike Williams. They don't have any receivers. Ladd McConkey's a rookie. Palmer's a number 3. Quentin Johnston's a bust. Who's going to catch the ball? DJ Chark? With Greg Roman scheming this thing up, the Ravens moved on from him for a reason. He couldn't get them over the top with Lamar Jackson in the playoffs because his passing game was too simplistic, too vanilla. Now it's going to work with a pocket passer, Justin Herbert? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, Greg Roman with Justin Herbert? We're going to run the ball when we have Justin Herbert? Our offensive line in the interior, Corey Linsley, having health issues. He's gone. Like, a rookie at right tackle, love Joe Alt, but that's going to take some time. It's just not a very good, skilled offense here with a very weird relationship between a play caller that wants to run the ball and one of the best pure passers in football in Justin Herbert. And then defensively, they're underwhelming from a talent standpoint. Their corners are not very good. The safeties, Derwin James is coming off like his worst season maybe of his healthy career. Linebackers are highly questionable, and Joey Bosa rarely ever plays. Khalil Mack was amazing last year, but is he going to be the same Khalil Mack we saw last year where he had like a resurgence big time? Now, maybe Joey Bosa is healthy. Maybe they get some breakouts in the secondary or the linebacker level. Maybe I'm really discounting the difference between a Jesse Minter and a Brandon Staley. But personally, I just don't think the Chargers have been evaluated by people. I don't think people are sitting down and looking at the roster and saying this team is legitimately capable of winning 10 games. No, this is not the same roster from 2019 or 2020. This is 2024. Just because they added a coach, they need time for this culture to come through with the Chargers. So for me, the Chargers, overrated. If you think they're coming anywhere close to the playoffs, you are overrating the Chargers. And the fifth and final overrated team is the Atlanta Falcons. And honestly, I don't want the Falcons to be in this video. I kind of want the Falcons to be good this year, but they're definitely overrated. Like, they're significantly favored to win the NFC South. Significantly. And this team, just think about it. They have a quarterback with a torn Achilles and Kirk Cousins. They have not a very good defense, perhaps one of the least talented defenses in the NFL, with the weakest pass rush in the NFL. They have, a rookie coaching staff? This team is incompetent in the front office. They drafted a quarterback when they just signed Kirk Cousins. Are we just forgetting about what they did this offseason? Like, this team does not have a vision for what they want to be or who they want to have within this franchise. They're a mess. So I look at a team like Tampa, who's won the division 3 years in a row, and I compare them to Atlanta, and I say, why are we all of a sudden expecting the Falcons, because they added Kirk Cousins, to be this dominant team? Their defense is far below average, and to me, we don't even know if Cousins is the same player. So it's a simple argument. The Falcons, they're overrated, period. Now, moving to the most underrated teams in the NFL, we're going to begin with the team that everybody consistently underrates. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are underrated even by my standards every year, because somehow, some way, no matter the quarterback situation, the play calling, it doesn't matter. Mike Tomlin does not have a losing record ever, never, right? And he just continues to do it. Last year, guys, this team won 10 football games with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. 10. They were 10-5 with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. The 2 other losses came with Mitch Trubisky. So you remove Mitch Trubisky from this team last year. They were 10-5. That's 2-1. That is impressive. Now, this team also has one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it's even better than last year. They have a nasty pass rush led by TJ Watt, the NFL sack specialist. Alex Highsmith on the other side. Look out for Herbig coming off the bench. Cam Hayward, right? This defensive line is nasty. The linebackers, best linebacking core they've had in years. Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, I'm excited for. Cole Holcomb, Landon Roberts. They've got 4 legitimate linebackers right now that could start on NFL teams. Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be healthy this year, you would hope. Joey Porter Jr. enters year 2 after an impressive rookie season. This defense could be the best in the NFL, period. It really could. It has that type of upside, and with the ability to rush the quarterback, they can change any game in a single play. Offensively, they have the best offensive line, the most talented offensive line they've had in years. They drafted another first-round pick, the kid out of Washington. They have Broderick Jones in year number 2. They've got one of the best guard duos in football. Another second-round pick added to the center position as well. Like, the Steelers are really athletic up front right now. Frazier at center, I'm really excited for. Sayamalu, Daniels. This is the most legit offensive line they've had in a long time, and the most legit play calling they've had in a long time. Arthur Smith, don't forget what he did to get that Falcons job. What he did with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. He was one of the best coordinators in the sport. His run game, his play action, that coordinated with this athletic, nasty offensive line, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren in the backfield, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields at quarterback, who are capable of taking off and running or working play action pretty well. Like, Fields is limited as a passer, but as an athlete in a Arthur Smith coordinated rushing attack would be pretty impressive. And Russell Wilson, we know, is great with good defenses and strong running games. So Russell Wilson could be at home in Pittsburgh. And George Pickens is looking for another breakout season, probably a bigger season than even last. So I think that the Steelers, just as a whole, have a great vision for this football team. Defense first, protect the football, run the football, play action, big plays. It makes a lot of sense. The Steelers are going to be better than a lot of people think this year. The second most underrated team, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are very underrated entering 2024. I think the Seahawks will make the playoffs this season. I'm very excited for Mike Macdonald. I wouldn't be calling the Ravens overrated if Mike Macdonald was still on that staff, right? So I believe in Mike Macdonald. I think he's going to instantly upgrade this defense in Seattle, a defense that's just been very underwhelming. It's not living up to expectations under Pete Carroll the last couple of years. And I think it's mostly due to coaching, and it's mostly due to not using the personnel in the correct fashion and form. But I look at this personnel now and I say, it's got a nasty interior defensive line. You've got Murphy out of Texas. You've got Draymond Jones. You've got Leonard Williams, Jonathan Hankins, a nasty interior D-line. Boye Mafe coming off his best season of his career. Nwosu back from injury. A solid combination at linebacker. Julian Love, Reek Woolen. I'm super pumped for Devin Witherspoon in this defense. This is going to be a borderline top 10 defense, in my opinion, because of Mike Macdonald. And the offense, Geno's a solid quarterback. Like, people are underrating Geno Smith this offseason. Kenneth Walker is an electrifying running back with his Adrian Peterson haircut. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Yes, I'm concerned about the O-line, but I look at this talent that they have at receiver. I look at this talent in the secondary. I look at this new and improved coaching, and I say this is a team that's won 9 games 2 years in a row, and last year, them winning 9 was underwhelming. Remember, people thought they would go from 9-8 with Geno's first season and catapult to 11 wins because they had 2 first-round picks, right? They added in the offseason. Like, they appeared to get better, but coaching held them back. And if you think about the teams they lost to last year, they only lost to legitimate teams, right? They lost to the Rams twice. They lost the Niners twice. And a big part of that was the coaching was outgunned in their division. Macdonald proved how he could perform defensively against Kyle Shanahan, the wizard of the NFL, right? They lost to Cincinnati when Burrow was there. They lost to the Ravens, a really good team. They lost to Dallas, right? They lost to the best teams in the NFL last year. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat, but they could never pull off the upsets. Really, the only games that they beat against playoff teams were Cleveland, Philly, and they beat Detroit, surprisingly, in Detroit in overtime. But if Macdonald can pull off some upsets in the division this year and not get swept by the Rams and Niners, they could win 10, 11 games. That wouldn't be shocking at all. So Seattle, definitely underrated entering 2024. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are once again underrated in 2024. The Bucs have won this division 3 years in a row, and I understand that Tom Brady was there for 2 of those, but Baker Mayfield had arguably his best season of his career last year. When you really watch Baker Mayfield, I felt like he was his most mature off the field, his most mature on the field with decision making. And this is a team that is 4-1 to win their division after winning it last season. 4-1. The Falcons are significantly favored over this team, and they really didn't lose anybody outside of Carlton Davis. That's really the only player they lost. Shaq Barrett, I guess, but he was going to retire anyway, right? Like, they still have a ton of pieces from the Super Bowl team. Antoine Winfield, Levante David, Vita Vea, Tristan Wirfs, who they just signed, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You go down the list, Jordan Whitehead. They have all these players, Jamel Dean, that played in their Super Bowl winning season, that played in 2021, a team that was loaded, right? This team knows how to win. This team knows how to rise to the occasion. This team beat the Eagles down at home in the playoffs. People forget that. They went toe-to-toe with the Lions in the playoffs in Detroit. Like, this team is better than people think. And at the end of last year, they went 6-8. They were on a tear at the end of last year. They only lost to their division foe, the Saints, who they always lose to once a year. And they lost to the Lions. That was it. In Detroit in the playoffs. That was it. 6 out of 8. So you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, you got an improved offensive line thanks to Graham Barton out of Duke in the first round. You got Rashad White, a 3-down running back. Cade Otton could take another step forward. Look out for McMillan at receiver, right? You've got a defense that I think is going to be overall, like, probably improved just because Kalijah Cansey could be a superstar this year. Diaby could take a step forward at the edge position. Like, getting Jordan Whitehead back to complement Antoine Winfield is beautiful. The corners, maybe a little bit of a question mark, but they've never been phenomenal. So I think Tampa could easily win this division again. I don't think people are treating them with that respect. The fourth underrated team entering 2024, the Buffalo Bills. I know that's an unexpected addition to the list because the Bills have been known as a contender. They have Josh Allen, one of the best football players in the NFL. But yet the Buffalo Bills are being counted out as a contender this year, which is why they're underrated. Like, some people think the Jets are going to be better. Some people think the Dolphins are going to be better. They are not looked at as one of the most consistent, best franchises in the sport, which is exactly what they are. It's exactly what they are. 4 straight division crowns. Ever since Tom Brady left this division, they've won the division every single time. And yet, just because they lost a drama queen of a wide receiver, and yes, I said it, that's what Stephon Diggs is. When you look at what Stephon Diggs did at the end of last year, he was not very good. You can look up the stats for yourself. He had under 10 yards a catch. He was not a very good player. I think he had 1 touchdown in like 8 games. So he was already being phased out of the offense. And what happened when they phased him out of the offense? The Bills started winning games, period. They started winning games. They won 6 in a row after the bye week. And their only loss came to the Kansas City Chiefs at home in the playoffs where they missed a field goal to tie the game. The Buffalo Bills played the Chiefs as well as anybody last year, especially when you consider the playoffs. Like, the Bills, if they win that game, they could have won the Super Bowl. So I understand that they had a ton of injuries, and you also factor that in, but they nearly beat the Chiefs with all those injuries at linebacker, in the secondary, at safety, on the defensive line. This team had to morph their identity mid-season. Now they have a full offseason to morph that identity under Joe Brady as their offensive coordinator. Remember, they made a switch at offensive coordinator last year. Despite that, Josh Allen still led the NFL in yards, still led the NFL in touchdowns, still set a rushing touchdown record for quarterbacks with 15. The man is unique. He's a unicorn. He can carry a team to success. But you think about now how the offense looks, and they have a good offensive line. They have a really strong running game with James Cook, who I think could be a top 10 running back this year, who can catch the football, run the football, who's explosive. They've got Dalton Kincaid entering year 2, who had a nice little rookie season and should take a huge step forward this year. Curtis Samuel, a multi-dimensional playmaker that they signed. Khalil Shakir, who's really, I think, going to play a huge role from the slot. And then they've added some complementary pieces like Coleman from the draft or Chase Claypool. These guys can easily be Gabe Davis, if not more. Gabe Davis was a very overrated loss for this football team. Von Miller is looking more like Von Miller this offseason. They pretty much brought back their entire defensive line outside of Leonard Floyd. They still got Daquan Jones. They have Ed Oliver. They have Greg Rousseau, who could take another step forward. Matt Milano, their best defensive player, is back. They've got a really good trio of corners led by Benford and Douglas and Tron Johnson, right? Yes, the safeties, they don't have the names, right? Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, but these guys were getting older. They were declining. They were getting slower. This team is younger, faster. This team has a different identity of tougher football on offense. That's what we've been searching for from the Bills for years. Get tougher. Be able to play in Buffalo in the snow. Be able to run the football. Post-bye, this team really showed what it was. This team has a really good culture, a really strong leadership core, and Josh Allen is a top-notch quarterback. He could be the best quarterback in the league in any given season. McDermott is a proven winning coach that always coaches strong defenses. The Bills should not be overlooked as a Super Bowl threat, and I feel like a lot of people are counting them out, so that's why they're underrated. The next underrated NFL team, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are the final underrated team, and I really feel like everybody forgot about the Raiders last year. Like, they won 8 games last year. Their win total entering 2024 is 6.5, and a lot of people are taking the under. A lot of people are picking them to finish last in their division. A lot of people aren't giving them a chance to be better than the Chargers. But I'm here to tell you that I think the Raiders are every bit as good as the Chargers, if not better. I think they're more talented as a team. Do they have a lesser quarterback? Do they have a more suspect coach maybe? Like, we know Jim Harbaugh is a proven winner, but we don't know anything about Antonio Pierce. But what we do know is that this team played better with Antonio Pierce. They were 5-4 with Antonio Pierce. They were 5-5 with Aiden O'Connell. So if you just take away the Josh McDaniels, Jimmy Garoppolo element of this team last year, they were a pretty good football team. They had the second best defense in the NFL from week 8 to week 18. That's 10 weeks of having the second best defense in football. And what did they do this offseason? They got better on defense. They added Christian Wilkins, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. You complement Max Crosby with a real dog on the inside, and you have a special pass rush alongside Malcolm Kuntz. Maybe Tyree Wilson takes a step forward. You've got a good rotation of players behind them, and this D-line could be nasty. The O-line could be equally nasty. A really good offensive line coach, Colton Miller, Andre James, a borderline first-round talent in Jackson Powers-Johnson being added to the mix, some good depth in guys like Andrus Peat, right? I really feel like the Raiders could be one of the toughest, grittiest teams in football. With a good defense, playmakers in the secondary like Jack Jones and Morig, playmakers on the perimeter on offense like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Don't forget about him. This team is going to be tough to play weekly. And don't forget about the wins that they had late last year, including beating the Chiefs. So the Raiders, I think, are going to win more games than expected. Certainly go above their win total and probably be just as good, if not better, than the Chargers, which is why they are underrated. Those are the 5 most overrated and underrated teams in the NFL entering 2024. If you enjoyed, Gronk spike the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more NFL content just like this. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.